Well, welcome to all of you beautiful people here and Zoom with us and watching live on Facebook. It's our Cultivating Voices live poetry, our first reading of 2023. I'm your host, Sandy Yannone, and I'll be guiding us through a menagerie of poetry. Today, it's our Poet's Focus on the theme of home. As those of you who've been with us before, we start out our readings each month with a word that we study and experiment with and probe and consider and ponder and question. And for our first reading of this new year, we chose the word home, which of course, as always, has so many prismatic ways to enter that exploration. Well, again, I want to welcome each and every one of you to this first reading of our new year, and so looking forward to this 2023 season. I'd like to just start by thanking everyone who participated, listened, read, posted, and however you joined us in our 2022 season for your most robust contributions. And of course, welcome those of you who may be here with us joining us for the first time as we enter this new year, full of the promise of poetry. And it's supportive and healing and probing qualities that it can bring to all of our lives. We've been here since March of 2020 on most Sundays. And again, we look forward to another year of Sundays with all of you. We've got a great audience here assembling here in Zoom of actually a very robust audience. So let us get right to the poetry after I thank two of our stalwart folks who make this program happen. You'll give a hearty New Year round of applause to Don Krieger and Kim Ports Parsons for their support of the program. Indeed. I've got a new heart for this new year that I picked up. I'll be using this and my old hearts that I have during the program. They've got nice little chimes in them. So again, I welcome all of you, and I'm so appreciative for you being here for not just this first reading of the new year, but I hope as many as you can participate in and contribute to in this upcoming year. We've got some great readings already established coming up, and of course we love at Cultivating Voices to hear as many voices as possible. And it's one of the hallmarks, I think, of our reading series is that we're able to, everyone gets to be the feature at some point. And that's why I think we enjoy so much these opportunities for our open mics, whether there are featured open mics on this theme, our Poet's Focus, or our wild card open mic. And I'll just say that in 2 weeks, when we have the wild card open mic, I have a lovely surprise for everybody as we kick off that part of our reading series. Well, I am nursing a little bit of a sore throat. You might be able to hear it in my voice. So I'm going to try to conserve my chatter a bit. And with that, I will turn us to why we're here, which is to hear the poetry for today. A reminder that our featured poets will have up to 5 minutes a piece, and those who use a little less time than that preserve some time for the poets that we have on our waiting list. We'll try to get to as many folks as we can, and we usually aim to end the program in about 90-minute time. So on the second half hour. Well, without further ado, let us begin this new year. And I'm thrilled that our first reader in this new year is a poet that's been just sharing so much beautiful work with us, and still I see that you've got a reading coming up featuring your new collection, The Color of Dirt. It's our dear friend Giulio Magrini. Welcome and Happy New Year to you.
Welcome to this homeopathic 2023, everyone. I was thinking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs when I attempted to recognize the home women provide us. This is called heated by the perpetual female. You identify the female answer to light because it was shared dutifully or with ignorance with each subsequent step and action. The female nourishment of world by countenance and care, directed and becoming each persona, hands open, lifting miniatures of life delivered within each personal pyramid. Accepting arms of essential reassurance and passion for totality, stand in righteousness, the breath of humanity and guidance of civilization, our abiding human coupling, an amalgam of mystery, love, intensity, our fallible meta-perspective as subordinate. Not the individual collaborators of history, but the plebeian standard of female, living receptors of essence and the flowing of substance. Through their colloquial barter, the heavens of consciousness approach our grasp, and the females stand before and within us. They always were. The female surrendering warming sun, gentle rain, lilting breezes, and when essential, raging torrents and blizzards. Their appropriate senses in comportment with humanity. They are the coupling and enablement of evolution. Through the pathways of dirt on our roads, disruption of direction eclipse paths, our mutual dampened response in partnership, we are astray without their more perfect language, our isolated contribution to their answer is never enough. But the enlightened articulate, stronger evidence of female, endures in the present of our shared plane, blowing their blessings of life through breaths within us. We are enlightened by gifted binary and the radiance of symmetry, the assembled virtuosos of universe, not through adornment, but substance, serenaded in evolution as female. Their blood flows through us to enable our amuse-bouche to eternity, ascend to their mission of better understanding through a unity and harmony of world, gifted in specific and personal bouquets that adorn visions and define the existence of all.
Well, that is Giulio Magrini starting us off here on Cultivating Voices. It's our Poets Focus today on home. Thank you so much. And again, I always love hearing your work. We will move next to Ken Burch, and I want to remind folks, please use the chat generously, respectfully, to share your comments and encouragement to our readers today. And also a reminder that please do feel free, as we would during a new book showcase, if you've got upcoming readings or announcements, or if you would like to put the link to your latest collection, feel free to share that with everyone here in the chat. So without further ado, let's hear from our good friend Ken. Welcome and Happy New Year.
Welcome, Sandy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all wherever on the planet you may be, or on other planets if you're zooming from there. A trigger warning that some of what I'm going to be reading deals with loss, and some of you have gone through, anyone have gone through maybe the loss of close family members, such as a parent, and this might affect you, and I wanted to let you know some of that will be coming into this. The first home any of us have is the womb. And 9 days ago, my own mother, who is the possessor of the womb from which I emerged, left this world. It was a long life. She was 97. But that is sort of informed these two pieces, one on my birth and one on her leaving of this world, home 1 and home 2. Life is really a passage from a series of homes in many respects. Before, where I would be, there was nothing, near nothing that was I. In the absence, before presence, pre-sentience, before luminance, then what? What was what? Could any what form of that had not yet been? Then what could later, when words might later be called emergence from what had always and only seemed nothing, to blurred grayscale mystery. Nothing had been a home, now a home in, could it be something? An end to the silence, not yet its own word, an origin for all that might be of what would be me, absence within an absence which had been home. For absence formed, though I could not yet form the thought of warm, a circular shelter of what I could not yet know, yet knew all along, now replaced by all which had surrounded that shelter, which had been when I was not, some of which would soon not be, some of which would cease to be later, some of which remains, some of which was not long after I was. A home which could not be known while living in, giving way to a home I am still seeking to know, if knowing it in its everything can be known at all. Home 2. I need to scroll up here for a second. Give me a moment here. She began in the first of the last to slip out of order with her pages, with her chapters, with the story she had told and been. Her mind had been a flowchart of organization. She had planned and planned and planned. All had been arranged, even what would be done when she was no more. She had feared being, I think, what the smug, the judgmental, the too certain to truly live would call a burden, and had done all that she could after a life where she had done all that she could to do what must be done if what was one was to be an adult, to be responsible, to pull her weight, to pull everyone's weight, even weights she should never have had to pull. She had not burdened anyone. Then she started to lose her place. The forgetting, after years and years of never forgetting, began, as it will, for some unknown date for us all. Appointments suddenly in question. Energy, once faded, had to ask, as she long had feared, for help picking things up around her place, the senior apartment she'd kept spotless for 5 years before. Then things said minutes earlier being said as if they had not been said. Then a cough, which had been there, how long? Who knew? Made itself constantly known. A clinic said there were spots on lungs. My sister traveled Interstate 5 in repeated cycles to take charge. Sometimes my brother, now and then myself. Should I have gone more? A last visit on my part. Chinese food for lunch for 3 after learning what must likely be, then surely be, then would be. Last words over the phone between us when the question was answered with what was to be was past denial. Eternity in her voice, she said she was sorry. Sorry it was taking so long. So long? What makes someone say that? What is it in what we live in that makes an old woman apologize for still being alive? As if anyone should ever have to apologize for that. Then the wait for the call to say it was done. The wait, more painful, more searing, than the knowledge when it was known. 9 decades, 7 years, 28 days. What she would have, all she would have, enough for her. But someone, something around us all had said to her, don't take more than you're allowed, had taught her life must be rationed. It was her time she needed for herself to go, but nothing at all should have made her feel she owed it to anything or anyone no more to be. There was nothing to say you were sorry for, Mother. You did nothing wrong. Your lifespan was not a theft. And I wish everyone everywhere may find the home that they seek, wherever that home might be. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Wow, what a poignant way to honor your mother, as well as really honor, humanity, and then the idea that, no one should have to apologize for the time they're here with all of us. Wow. Well, the theme of home is very evocative, very provocative, and we've heard that just already from our first 2 readers. And what I always appreciate is the prismatic way you all bring light and appreciation and introspection to these themes that we conjure up, and how you expand them beyond our wildest imaginations. So our next reader, who I have no doubt will help us expand this theme beyond our wildest imaginations, as he always does, is Harvey Soss. Welcome and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. And Happy New Year to you and everyone else. Can you hear me?
Can hear you fine. Thank you.
I have 2 poems for you today, which aren't the 2 poems that I was intending to read. The first of which is about the sense of community that makes a home a home. It's a poem I don't much like, so never read, but maybe I'm giving it short shrift, so I welcome comment in the chat. And the second is a shorter, much shorter poem about the home away from home, that vacation spot that you rent in the summer. The first one is called Come Back to Us. A steady drip of ringtones filters down to us like a cup of joe. A Keurig or Krupp's jolt of wake-up calls sprinting cross town through telephone lines with the urgency of Paul Revere. Rousing the townsfolk, a gulping star squeezes out a tear, intelligence of your husband's death, trampolining from yard to yard. The grapevine surprises us with the sting of mouthwash, the staleness of yesterday's coffee grinds. We would spit out denial if we could, rinse and spit if it would help you get through it for an hour, a minute. Word of his massive stroke, a fuse box blowout, leaves us, your neighbors and friends, scratching our heads as if crowned with thorns or ringworm, stretched not for the first time, nor likely for the last, on Appian Way crosses of small town empathy, determined to help you hold fast. Our faces pregnant with reassurance, we stumble like baby llamas at a petting zoo, each one wanting to be the first to comfort you and be comforted by you, offering cakes of commiseration, pies piled high with promissory notes of fruits and nuts, generous dollops of creme fraiche, home-baked analgesics to serve as a balm against future loneliness. The whole community of us reminding you that however deep your loss cuts and however thankful we are that it wasn't ours, you are not alone. Though you put on the tough and imperturbable demeanor of a walnut, closeting the Brechtian sturm undrang of a pirate Jenny, practically daring kith or kin to crack you open and fetch out from within the fetal hurt that's curled there. The only way you'll keep us, your mates, from sharing your pain, your sink or swim moment, is by killing us. The safest bet, I suppose, would be for us to avoid the Kool-Aid stand in front of your house altogether, on the off chance that grief might have driven you to make of our hamlet by the sea the next Jonestown, having been warned by mothers against drunk driving to go easy on the great. I picture you more as a grenade with its pin pulled, ready to blow, seemingly oblivious to the fact you'll take innocence with you when you go, your children, Kool-Aid vendors, and friends who care for you, who depend on you almost as much as they do on dependents qualified as tax deductible. Come back to us, peeking out from your den of immutable sorrow to see and seize the rope ladder of our conjoined solicitude. Pull yourself up from whatever depths you've sunk to. Among us, you will find enduring companionship, and when you've cried yourself out, good wishes enough to fill a well bucket with better luck. Come back to us while there is still time to push the pin back into the grenade, survive, and let others who love you help you light the taper of memory, commemorative aromatherapy that somewhat masks the stench of an untimely death. The sound of weaving yourself to sleep disrupts the sleep of the children, your cries piercing as shrapnel, rendering those who most need your support collateral damage. You dream walk through the carnage. He's gone, their father and your husband. Nothing you can do will bring him back. No action taken by you or on your behalf. Somehow you'll just have to learn to live with it so that those who daily rely upon your example can learn to live with it. It is a rare bird that just now perches on your windowsill, one notably absent from your life list of documented sightings, smaller and less noirish than any messaging death's raven or hoopoe you might spot. A specimen of recreational observation your former birdwatcher self would have been thrilled to brag of, eager to capture both its likeness and information in photograph and notebook, to upload these to fellow Audubon enthusiasts. Is this his soul, one might ask, its last words stirring you to duty? Go back to them. Go back to them. It sings and sings again, the remarkable insistence of its song, a true love's kiss, that begins to wake in you a sleeping beauty. And if I have about 30 seconds more, I'll read the second one. It's called Upcountry. Upcountry is where we go for weekends, stomping around in galoshes to avoid tracking compost in on our signature Air Jordans, chasing Canadian geese out of backyards littered with ziggurats of goose shit. It doesn't feel sinful to order foie gras anymore. Upcountry is where city apartment dwellers such as ourselves develop dancers' calves shifty as plate tectonics, going on winter walkabouts to the country store, crab crawling on snowshoes with no concierge to call a cab for you or help with groceries. You're on your own upcountry, deriving from the syntax of storm clouds, almanac words for the day, blizzard conditions, nor'easter, speaking into the telephone for Chinese takeout in the learned language of migrating birds. Thank you.
That's Harvey Soss on the theme of home, 2 poems. Thank you so very much. And looking forward to hearing from our next reader. Again, we've had folks who were with us last year and did amazing new book showcases, and always love to hear poems from Marjorie Maddox. Welcome. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to you too. This is from a 2013 book, Local News from Somewhere Else, which is really about how to redefine home in an unsafe world. So kind of unfortunately, I think it's even more applicable now. So this is called Homecoming. And maybe when you arrive, stumbling up the cracked path thick with hopscotch chalk and weeds, a stranger will answer the door, insist you're no longer on Elm, that this is not your home. Autumn will well up, swell in the gutters you cleaned every year since 12, spill into the color of a landscape you can't see but feel, bricks untwining, ivy crumbling, smoke unbraiding from clouds. Maybe then you will turn away from the echo of a knock back into your own life, away from my picket fence memory, framed still in this dilapidated doorway, wondering who you are. And then this is called, I can get the page. Still Life of House in late March. A century old, she knows how to pose, shutters not even twitching in natural light, as the artist tinkers with perception, vandalizes the stark air with voyeurism. She is naked of snow, leaves, flowers, but beautiful in her simple stance among curved hills. Maybe her weathered boards will creak onto canvas, or a swallow peep through the brushstrokes where a nest clogs a slanting chimney. She is not saying, obedient to the solemn man, now sketching wrinkles across her face, reconstructing shadows of memory. While beyond his vision, she daydreams of us, who are watching inside, forever waiting to see what she will tell of our lives, still moving and moving. And then I'll just end with this very short one. AM, inside and out. Here is the landscape of my son, prying open the horizon with his grin, of my daughter trying to crack the sun with her large laughter. What of the clock that clucks no, no, no? They flushed it down the commode with all the toilet training paraphernalia until it backs up in the pipes, bulges beautifully into the hills that belch so early. Hello, hello, good morning. Of course we must answer, must gather up the dew and daffodils in our nightshirts, comb our hair through with the lark's incessant trill, our 2 small ones trailing after us into the wonderfully brightening world. Thanks.
It's Marjorie Maddox, everyone, here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Today, we are exploring the theme of home and what that evokes for and with each of us. Thank you so much. it's just amazing always to me, as I keep saying, the true diversity of how we get to explore what encapsulates these words and where it takes us. Whether you're reading a new poem for the first time that you've written specifically for today, or whether it casts you back to poems that you have in your repertoire that you'd not thought about before, or for a while, and are able to bring them home here to an audience on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Well, next I want to welcome Lara to the program. And also just a reminder, folks who are reading today, if you care to share where you're joining us from, it's always lovely to know where you are home today reading from. So welcome, Liz. Looking forward to your
Thank
poem.
you. Thank you. I think I managed to attend maybe one program last year, and I'm very happy to be here today. I'm in Silver Spring, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. I don't know if there's anybody else here from Maryland, or the D.C. area. But anyway, hello, everybody. This is a poem I wrote last October, and it relates to my grandmother, my great grandparents, my mother. You know, it's like that kind of home theme. The title is Apoplexy. Columbus, patriarch that my grandmother adored. Where is your portrait now? Its gilt-framed presence that brooded over the mantle, over the same fireplace where in my mother's 13th winter, the flames licked the hem of her gown and set her on fire. You, at the height of your powers, mustache anchoring the turned down corners of your mouth, bald head resting on stiff collar and bow tie, the artist's oils that smooth the furrows between your brows, unable to conceal the simmering of your angers. Your blue eyes swallowed all the air in the room. They say you died of apoplexy. My grandmother was your favorite child, but my mother's fear was as fierce as the horsehair sofa she was forbidden to sit on. Strange, Columbus, how your daughter gave you permission to inhabit those rooms, although you never lived in them, not after the fires that bonded you and Almeida burned down to ash, your lives adrift in smoke. 84 and alone in the cocoon of her lifetime's possessions, my grandmother spurned all solutions. Her caretakers were ugly, or smelled, or stole from her, she said. So it came to pass that the house would be sold and she would be sent to the old people's home. She hurled the Victorian stereoscope into a bin, and from the top of the dresser, she seized the tiny furniture set she played with as a child, scattered the pieces into a box. She added the family photos and souvenirs, called the handyman, ordered him to take it all to the dump to be burned. Thank you.
Wow, what a poem. Thank you so much, Liz. Come back and read again soon.
Okay.
For that amazing contribution today. Again, folks, we are listening to poems on the theme of home, and oh, so provocative what it is bringing forth for folks. Well, I look forward to hearing from our next reader, Rosie Barrett, and what you'll share with us on this
Hi.
theme.
Hi, yeah, I put in the chat, I come from South Devon in England, but I was actually brought up in East Anglia, which is sort of up and to the right, north of England. And I've got one here which I thought I probably would introduce myself with, which is after Kim Moore, and it's My People. I come from people who are called the backbone of Old England. They're the people other people look down on or sneer up at. They're not intellectual and are suspicious of Londoners. They keep their heads down, their views to themselves. They nod to the county set, but do not bow. They're the civil engineers and farmers, butchers and grocers. Some are drinkers and gamblers, and they have wives. The women of my people are a mixed bunch of domestic bakers, butter churners, brawn moulders and hen huggers, egg collectors. They're fowl pluckers and gutters, child raisers, kindling choppers and stove coaxers. Before the last war, they probably had a girl to help out. Some of them play the violin. They all play the piano. The men of my people think they run things. At work, some nurture apprentices. Others rely on the men they employ and talk to them easier than they can to their womenfolk. I come from people who may go to church, but if God lets them down, they stop. There are no vicars in my people, but way, way back, there is a buccaneer. So I got another one, if I can find it. Go away. So I'm finding these on my phone. I had a different one to read originally. This one's called, actually I will do All in a Day. That was the one I was going to read, which is, you know, the weather forecast that's put out for the sailors all around the, well, here in Britain anyway, it was it was when the BBC first started, so about the 1920s. And there are all the different words that people use, not on the weather forecast, but that they use locally for what the weather forecast is talking about. It's called All in a Day. They say that I'm drich and mochi, mothery, smear and mizzle past their lips, and then to the west, soft. Just occasionally mormy, but that's on land. What do they know of gale and storm and hurricane force? Never a hurricane on its own in British waters, save that for the tropics. Even good, when they say it, takes on quite another meaning. But I can see where they're going. They say that I am fickle, veering and backing, clockwise and widdershins, lows, Plymouth and Rockall, both losing their identities. That probably means nothing to anyone who isn't a sailor. I'm very sorry. Have I got any time for the last one?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Thank you. It's short. This was actually published in the Right to the River section of the Friends of the Mississippi magazine. And it's called Official Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty. And I don't know if you can see, that is where I live, basically. I live up to the right of that. And that's my daughter and her son and a dog. Another stolen day in my eyrie with its view of the valley, with its river, its inlets, its little creeks, naturally silting up with sand and dieseled mud. Barely floating logs drift up and down on the flow, on the ebb. Ravens roll rooks in the high narrow blue above larches, while below creeps the moor water through willows, rushes, thrift and sedge out to sea.
That's Rosie Barrett, everyone. Thank you so much for that trio of poems today. Folks, I normally, as you know, I'm a little more loquacious than normal, but I've got a little bit of a tickle and a sore throat today. So I'm keeping my comments to a little bit of a minimum today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, fabulous. I can't wait till next time. Welcome. and Happy New Year. Well, next, poet I adore hearing from whenever I get the opportunity, and I'm glad that this first reading of the new year is providing that opportunity. It's the amazing Martina McGowan. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here today and are going to be sharing with us.
Thanks, Sandy. I'm going to follow Rosie's example and talk about my people a little bit. Perhaps it's my advancing age, but home for me is more about people than places, more about feeling than possession. So here we go. Plucked from starlight, playing in forests, passing through the gates of hell and barracoons, 13 days inside the belly of another beast. Up from the sticky, sweet sap of stout pines, barbed and prickly cotton, 200 pounds a day, flesh, timber, fluffy bowls, all to the auction block, tumble down quarters turned to homes. From emancipated peoples with biblical names, grandmothers dreaming of up north, thorn-scarred hands corralling a future brighter, remembering the past, sharing history. From red clay pounded to concrete, hard streets and harder women doling out wisdom and hard-earned truths. Love buried deep as diamonds, hard to see, sometimes harder to feel. From running across hot, tarry rooftops and yoo-hoos and knee-high sodas, marbles, stickball, and flying free from swings before we became prey again. Tiny apartments filled with family, aromas of food from down home, a blessed circle big enough to say Jesus wept more than once. Smiling eyes, cutting, side rolling, waiting for another to say he sure did, risking a finger pluck from one aunt and a death stare from another. Fathers who adored us but drank too much, crushed beneath the world's weight. Brothers who loved too many, others molesting those they did not love. Women breasting the evil tides. From people who learned whipping as punishment, pushing their children's hearts away, hoping to save them from corruption, from death. Rising, continuing to imagine worlds better than we received. This is a song woven through several generations, holding one long breath, sharing our story, so that others can see that hope lives on inside our pain and that home lives on inside our hearts. Thank you.
An absolutely amazing poem. Thank you so much for bringing it to Cultivating Voices live poetry here today. Again, when we set these themes, we know that they have many, many entry points. And I'm really reminded about what you said, Martina, about, you know, the idea that home isn't always a physical place. It's that you are thinking of it as the people that inhabit space and time, and of course the legacy of generations, and what that evokes and brings forth. Thank you so much, and that contribution to the comment on also history as well. Well, we continue on through today's reading. We get to go across the pond again, as we sometimes like to say here, and hear from Gordon Ferris. Welcome, Happy New Year to you.
The same to you, Sandra. Happy New Year to everybody. I'm going to read a few new poems. The first one is in the voice of a woman thinking back on her childhood. You know, I intend to put it into a collection about my daughter Sarah. You know, it's called At Two. When I was small, our house seemed huge. The hall a skating rink. We slid up and down in our stocking feet. Our adults seemed like gentle giants, smiling, playing our childish games. My heart would leap in my little chest when I would see my dad come round the corner in his faraway gaze. His eyes would brighten and his face lit up when he saw my face ignite at his coming home. As a baby, I remember not going to sleep until he came home. I'd fall asleep lying on his chest, drifting off to the sound of his heartbeat. The next one is called Petty Complaints. We complain always about the aches that inhabit our everyday, and the children don't live out the ambitions that we had for them. Instead of just wishing they become good people and have them find happiness. When we do come to bear witness to something that inflicts real heartbreak, we find ourselves begging for those old horrors to return. We can't prepare for what life's sudden dark shadows cast on us, and before you know it, that life you live, the life you know so well and love, is changed forever, is forever gone. And next one is called A Man Is Known. A man is known by the silences he keeps. The way of the world changes with every step he takes into his future. When he doesn't take that step, he pauses that journey and his future is changed. And this one is called White Lies. When you lie, you walk away. It looks like there are no consequences for that lie. But when you walk away, does your warmth turn into ice? Are your eyes expressionless? Does your truth ooze forth from all your pores, bulging, bursting, to get out into the world? And this one is called If. If you loved me and you say you do, the sun would disappear behind a greying cloud. Our day would turn into night, our world turned upside down. If you loved me as you say you do, you would show me how to do it right, to cut straight, not across, as you know I should. And the next one is a very old poem. It's a poem that I read a few times before, and I think it suits the theme that we have tonight on home. It's about the people that have lost their homes. It's called Questions. In broken English, thank you so much for enjoy your day, sir. Earnest and heartfelt, beauty and joy for life in her eyes. But what horrors has she left behind in her homeland to have such joy at the now just living? She's traveled across treacherous seas, suffered many humiliations, felt degraded beyond what any human should endure. Why should the words of any God warbler induce you to kneel before them when you witness what's done in its name? I wonder if a world with no lines dividing or doctrine guiding, only steered by what's already inside us and what by instinct we know, would they still have to leave their land, leaving behind all they know? Would they still have to live the nightmare of hearts lost in a distant land? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gordon. Again, I appreciate folks bringing their new work and sharing that with us. And again, going back into the coffers of their manuscripts to find poems and provide some new life to them for the program when we explore a certain word. And it's always great to be able to share that work with our community here. And so let's move next now to Cynthia Steele. Happy New Year. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to contribute to this theme today.
Thank you, Sandy. I hope you are well very soon. So I have a shorter one and a longer one. So the first one is a moment. A moment in a doorway to a pale blue trailer, Mama, whose side-swooped hair hides, red eyes, falls in a cascade of lengths to the left, holds a wispy one-year-old in a pale, too short dress. The band of Mama's cream sweater hugs her slim middle down dark slacks. Daddy's face, grim, long, holds the sister 16 months older and about half again as tall. Her red pants and girly floral shirt show a burgeoning older sister's bossiness. Daddy's hair is not quite a buzz cut over his large, dark-framed glasses. A head taller, a snug, too short navy windbreaker nearly covers his crisp button-up. It's 1966. Mama's 20, and Daddy would kill 2 people within a year. Okay. This one is, it's a long way to Tipperary. This is for all the kids who moved and moved and moved. It's a long way to Tipperary. Lamps hover over dimly lit streets, flicker glow, emergencies, unpacking in the middle of the night. In the morning, the trash collection trucks screech. A pretend family and I ate dinner in the corridor. My daddy got a different apartment some roads away from us. We can't walk there. And he comes by less and less, but oh boy, howdy, when he comes, he's full of smiles, lifts us high. Truth, where we live now is a place so unlike the others. Neighborhoods all having their own names and everyone knowing them. Took me years to piece together where we'd been to here. Was it like that for you too? Did you get lost going home from the bus? Oh yes, we used to live there in that faded light blue basement, but now the brown with a laundry room and an outbuilding. Mama said, be nice. We'll move to such a nice place. Wait and see. But my things are gone. My sister's things are gone. Don't cry. The fire engine siren roared in my ears when it started. The fire. Children with matches and nobody home. Just a prank joke game. The dogs caught distemper. I rode my bike. When Puppy's paw caught in the spokes, she shrieked. But she's quiet now. It's a long way to Tipperary. It's a long way from home. We move because we have to. Keep a toy, get more later, they're only things. What's that you say? You lived in the same home your whole life. I didn't know that was a choice. Wasn't for us. We followed time, it marched on, and we scuttled to keep up with it. How did you? See this, she said, it's my height chart for my whole life. My ears roar ocean, don't mark on apartment walls. We just live here. We don't own it. Them's the breaks, kid. Don't get all worked up. It's just a bed, just a pillow, just a dog. It's a scene, like in a movie. It's just your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister sitting playing games. That's right, a puzzle, a word game, a kid game, Twister, Candyland. No place that's not tied up in a game, is there? It's all a scene, a play, a time together. The music feels gone. It's all echoey here. There was filled with plants and our things, mine, saying it's mine, suddenly selfish. Be grateful you're safe here, not home, but here. Know that you'll be here for a time. It's good. Smile. You look pretty when you smile. There's a grown-up boy. Kids will do fine. They adjust to changes. You know, they're tough. Things slipped from our fingers, but not from theirs. Were they blessed, but we are not? Are our planets unlucky? Was God busy that day? Do we have to accept this home? Do we get a choice? What if I'm not grateful? What if my heart cannot sing here or again? Were you grateful that you never had to move? Like some people, like some people like us? Were you grateful you weren't us? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Poems from Cynthia Steele. Again, I fully anticipated that we would really get to hear things about, not feeling rooted in a particular home, and the different aspects of that. And I'm very grateful for you bringing that perspective to the program today. Thank you so much. Our next reader today is our dear friend, Billy Brown. Good to see you, Billy, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you all. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you perfectly fine.
It's great to be here again in another year. I have an announcement, a poem, and a song. What would I be without a song? My announcement is that on January 26th, at Fixed and Free, I'll be hosting, some of you probably have heard of them, Voices of Woodlawn. It's a group of poets from Maryland who together try to evoke the voices of the forgotten slaves that worked at Woodlawn, a plantation that originally was part of George Washington's Mount Vernon. And I invite you all to attend. It should be really a great show. They're accompanied by a harmonica on some of their pieces. And I'll put something in the chat and you can send me an email if you're interested. It should be a really wonderful show. They're celebrating and honoring Dr. Martin Luther King, January 26th. My poem is a new one. As I was falling asleep the other night and thinking about this theme, I tried to think of all the homes I've lived in. And I lost count after about 20. I'm 78 years old, so I've lived in quite a few homes. And my first home, I don't remember, except from home movies my daddy filmed and later projected on our next home's living room wall. My second home, I remember vividly, moved there when I was 2, 2004 Noski Street, Midland, Michigan, across the street from Curry Bennett Park, where I joined the neighborhood gang to play baseball, football, hockey. You see, in winter, the city flooded the park to make a huge ice rink. When I got home from school, I grabbed my ice skates, ran across the street, laced them on in the warm field house and skated until dinner or dark, whichever came first. My next several homes were in Alma, Michigan, where I attended college at Alma College, my alma mater, a small Christian college for small Christians, where my daddy and grandpa and grandma and several cousins and their children attended. First, I was a roommate in Mitchell Hall of a fellow Midlander, Nick Ivan, who played football and became a physician. Sadly, he died of a heart attack a few years back. Then I was a resident assistant in Mitchell Hall, after which I lived in the Teak fraternity house after undergoing ridiculous hazing in order to be admitted. We all slept in the sack room, the open attic, where in winter, sometimes I awoke to wind-blown snow on the floor. Thank goodness we had electric blankets. Sadly, that house burned down some years later. My next few homes were in New Hampshire and Vermont when I attended graduate school at Dartmouth College. At first, I lived in a shared house with 5 other graduate students of mathematics and physics. I remember we had 3 gyms, Jim, Jim Star, and Jim Dagger. My first New Hampshire home after my marriage was a little apartment above a garage about a mile from campus. Fond memories there. I practiced sleeping on the very edge of our small bed before the wedding in order to give Anne plenty of space to sleep. I remember our first Christmas tree, the first visit of my parents-in-law, the radio broadcast during which I heard President Johnson declare, "I shall not seek and I will not accept my party's nomination for office of the President of the United States." My next homes were in Stockton, California, where I taught mathematics at University of the Pacific. My beautiful daughter, Elizabeth, may she rest in peace, and my magnificent son, Alexander, were born there. All of my homes and hometowns filled me with nostalgia and gratitude. I never tire of revisiting those homes in reality and in my mind. Now for the song. I know there must be some of you for whom this is the case, but whenever I think of some topic or, just at random, songs just pop into my head. And a song I decided not to sing was Home, Home on the Range. So I'll not sing that one, but I have to give myself a starting note. That's a D. Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. You can join me. Country roads take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home, country roads. All my memories gather round her, miner's lady, stranger to blue water, dark and dusty, painted in the sky, misty taste of moonshine, teardrops in my eyes, country roads take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home, country roads. I never lived in West Virginia, but I visited there once. Thank you very much.
That's the unforgettable Billy Brown. I love it when you bring a song. When you bring a song to the program. I wish my mom was here. She's got a little touch of the flu or a cold, so she's not with us today. She loves John Denver. It's like one of her favorite songs. She said, I'll watch next week. So she's going to have something to look forward to. Thank you so much, Billy.
Well, whenever you say I love it, when you bring a song, of course, that increases the chances I'll do it again.
Good. Well, I'm so excited. We're down to our final two readers for our featured readers, and then we will have some time to get to our waiting list to hear a poem from some folks that will join us off of our wait list. I love when we can get to folks on the wait list as well. So welcome, and looking forward to hearing your contribution, Fran Garofio. Happy New Year. You'll just need to unmute.
I don't see Fran.
Okay. I think Fran was maybe we
Yes, there, it's two folks
together.
Carol and Fran, and I think they have unmuted now. So Fran is first, then Carol.
What are we doing? Well, unfortunately, we have no poem
or contribution to the program as such. We are here because we thought Meg Carney was going to present. And she's a dear friend of ours for many years, and I thought I would see her today present.
Oh,
Is she not there?
she's not reading with us today.
Oh, my. Well, I enjoyed everything that's going on with the other readers, so.
That's quite all right. No worries, Carol. So both of you do not want to read poetry.
No, we don't have any poetry to read.
All right. Well, thank you for being here and listening. And Sandy, I'm going to put up our
I've got it. Yep.
waiting list, folks.
Great,
Yep.
thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, Meg was with us in December, and you might have misconstrued when Meg was reading, but we hope she'll be with us again in this new year. We love Meg's work, and come on back any week to listen to our programs. We have great poets and poetry, as you hear today, and maybe one day, like my mom did at the beginning of December, she'd been listening for years and she finally came and read a poem. So I encourage Fran and Carol, if you are lovers of poetry, that this might be a venue where you one day share a poem of yours. Well, let's go to the folks that have signed up to off of our feet, our waiting list for today. Folks will be sharing one poem. We say usually up to 3 minutes, and we'll get in as many folks as we can as we hit to the half hour. And our first reader for today, so glad to see you here in the new year, is Lynda Crawford. Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Thank you. Happy New Year. I was glad to close the year with you guys and kind of open up my year with you as well. So thank you. I'll read one poem. It's a different concept of home. Inner eyes closed and opened. I can't walk long through ancient graveyards, the ones in Caribbean slow winds and sunshine, without hearing, yes, girl child, we listening. I start talking, answering, sweeping away dust from my head down through my opening, whisper to the coral and limestone. I am not certain how the cradling will end. I don't walk slow through pristine cemeteries, or at least not more than once. No one whispers to me there. No friendly voices of mothers, grandmothers, great-grandfathers and their sisters. Cemeteries with taller than 6 feet monuments mark cold climes. Europe, interims pushing upwards for permanence. I won't walk deep through crypts, above grounds, undergrounds. I slip fast away from cold, moist, dank catacombs that claw to return me to a dark place where I once died. That is not for me. What dragged my ancestors' ancestors and their ancestors' ancestors deep, deep must not once more pull me. I will walk strong through pyramids, mere of limestone, granite that insists I descend, press fear down. I haven't yet learned to breathe in narrow tunnels, long passages, longer memories, in the name of opening my inner eyes to kingdoms and foregone grace. Once, when I was dead, I breathed deeply, free of fear. Now I am above ground. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It was my attempt at a haiku, and the last piece was the haiku. Thank you.
An amazing poem. Thank you so much. That's Lynda Crawford, everyone. And as Lynda shared, you know, she was with us for our final reading of 2022, and glad you could be with us for our first reading of 2023. I look forward to seeing you and everyone here today and more of our friends during this up and coming new year. Folks, we are here in Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. We are examining the different aspects of the word home, and we are now getting to hear a poem from a few of our folks that are on our waiting list. Always good to get some bonus poetry in. And next we'll get to hear from Mona Lynch. Welcome and Happy New Year, Mona.
Thank you, Sandy. I'm delighted to be here. I have two very short poems that I think suit the theme. Where we grow up, I think, is home to everybody. And my village, my home village, may be familiar to any of you who visited Ireland. I grew up in the famous visit of our village of Blarney, where Blarney Castle is. And I have a short poem about it. It's called Reverberations. My heart knows the taste of the earth there, the zing of the rain on my face. The fields, the roads bear my footprints. While sand seeps through time, I need to go back, battle with the traffic today, where once only the local hackney reigned. The bell rings out full of depth, a voice calls, drawing the parish together. A network of fields, lakes, woods, even a castle. Across from the church stands the mill gates, quiet now. Once its discordant hooter vied for attention with the church bell. It called women in wraparound aprons, skilled at warping and weaving. Oil-stained men in overalls, rags dangling from back pockets, they kept the machine singing. They gathered again on Sundays, answering the bell. In polished shoes and white collars they came. While I knelt and watched my freckle-faced brother, the altar boy in his starched surplice and soutane, swinging the thurible, participating in a world closed to us girls. We all took steps to freedom, but chains of memory shackle us. The next one is about, I like to spend a bit of time down in West Cork, which is a beautiful part of the countryside. And shortly after spending some time there in September, I flew to New York to spend time with my daughter in the village of West Hampton. It's called Darina Traw, which is in Skull in West Cork. I picked blackberries as fat as my thumb, reaching through the brambles, surrounded by praying hoverflies. Abundant honeysuckles calling the moths to take their fill. The boreen was awash with ground-facing fuchsia. Next morning, I flew over the Atlantic to a land where I lost myself in a new wonder. Woke to a background of crickets singing while geese swooped, splash landing amongst the lily pads spread across Beaver Lake. A fawn wandered into view, eyeing me nervously as the Long Island train snaked through the distant trees, its old-fashioned whistle hooting a warning. Later, on the beach, I gathered perfect shells. I found some smooth lilac and white wampum stones used once for money by the local Shinnecock Indian tribe. I've never seen an owl up close, but as a pale late sun poked through the clouds, I walked on an empty beach, listening to the lisp of a rippling tide, and saw a magnificent snowy white owl, a bird to be revered and protected. On my last day, nothing stirs on the lake as white cabbage butterflies nuzzle the damp throat of wild blossoms. We visit a field of sunflowers with strong green leaves and bright faces we were glad to see. I was now ready to return to my home place.
Thank you so much, Mona. Just beautiful, evocative poetry. Yeah, there's the hearts. There they are. Again, folks, keep in mind, feel free to share your appreciation in the chat with our poets for today. We are exploring, starting to wrap up our reading for today, getting to those final few readers on the theme of home. And our next reader, and I'm sorry if I wasn't clear about this in the, for our waitlist folks, if you just read one poem, or just that's helpful to the program for today. Thank you. We'll hear from Batt O Connor. Hello.
Hey, how are you all doing?
See you. Happy New Year.
I'm beaming in from the west of Ireland, and this is a poem that's dedicated to a little girl called Louisiane. Louisiane was a 4-year-old Syrian child who drowned in the Mediterranean in a boat full of refugees that drifted for several days because it couldn't find a home in Fortress Europe. The poem is called Home. The instinct to open our doors to a homeless child seems so natural to all of us on Christmas night. The instinct to open our doors to Syrian refugees is not as clear-cut. Sometimes our human or sentimental selves are able to park the humanity in us when we look at calculations and figures and coin. Sometimes the rigors of our political systems are blind to the children who found a home in the waters of the Mediterranean. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Batt. As I said, I was looking today toward poems that would likely, bring different perspectives, and one of them was was the idea of what did it mean to be seeking a home, needing a home, under the duress of political asylum, refugee status, and all of that. So I'm very glad to have had you bring that perspective to the reading today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you. Well, another voice that, obviously I'm grateful for every voice that graces our program here. I truly, truly am. And I hope if you don't know that you will, that I'll be able to communicate that effectively during this upcoming year. I tend to remember when folks come onto the program for the first time, and I'm overjoyed when they return. And grateful for our next poet, Zomkhonto, and thank you for sharing and being here today for this first reading of the new year, and all my best to you in 2023.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm originally in Windsor, on my road afternoon, and two places in Canada. So this is based on my grandmother.
You know, I love seeing people when they read. You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, so I don't know.
Okay, all right. Let me actually go downstairs. Maybe you can hear me better that way.
All right, we'll go to the next reader. We'll come back to you when you come back on. Okay, thanks. So, having said that, usually I just say, oh, turn the camera off, but like, that's good. I'd rather have a very clear signal from our readers. Let's hear next from Susan. Susan Young, it's great. Oh, excuse me, or
You skipped someone, Sandy.
I did. I see.
Glenda.
My apologies. Glenda Cimino, welcome. Happy New Year to you. I'm so glad to see you today.
Happy New Year to all of you. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm zooming in from Dublin, Ireland, where I live. And then my poem is Zooming Out from Earth to Space. Earth from space at the end. Can you hear me? Earth from space at the end of the 20th century. Your image, my image. Within this white shrouded blue sphere, I am held like seed and fruit, fetus and womb, or a cell of your body. If you contain me, can I be other than you? I gaze at this special planet, so unlike the others whose image I have seen, whose terrain, whose inner workings, whose long-time journeys are so foreign and mysterious to me. Godlike, I hold the crystal ball of earth in my two hands and see in my mind's eye all it contains and has contained through the ages. I see volcanoes erupt, mountain ranges rise and fall, seas flood and subside. Ice ages come and go, while the storytellers on land and in sea sing the legends of our myriad lives. I see bodies forming from the sacred clay, dissolving back to earth again, and new forms rising. I see senseless wars and destruction, the rainforest burning. The Ouroboros dragon of earth eats its own tail. I see that nothing is lost, yet nothing is saved on this misty planet of evolving dreams. I gaze at this planet, my forever home, absorbed in its beauty, captivated by its face. I love it like my own child and long for it to become all that it can be, one great beating heart full of love.
Glenda, thank you so much. Thank you for bringing that message of the earth as our shared home. You know, it makes me think of Don Krieger's poem, Our Shared Humanity. I mean, our stewardship of the planet has never been more important, and I appreciate you bringing that perspective to the program. It looks like we have Zomkhonto back, yay! So I'm going to turn it over to you for your contribution for today's reading, and thanks for being flexible.
Okay, that's okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me clearly? Right, okay. I wrote this around my grandmother. This is what I miss about home. I had a magician mother. Instead of rabbits, she pulled elephants out of her colored heads. And she never let us in secrets. Being able to still remember she did it is all she pulled them out to the memory into us and became majestic creatures, trumpeting our innocence of the night, swinging task, becoming our true north, found inside in her eyes. That it was around us, that every hallelujah and amen was the of her tongue. That the yard outside, the leaves she gathered into a heap with the same blankets that covered us in our sleep, because when she was around of ancient trees, where the leaves that went, carried her favorite sling, and I imagined the somewhere, the veins of those leaves, and that when the dried in the morning to dust, she went outside and repeated routine. On the wall to a picture of Jesus was a prayer. The serenity to accept change, courage to change, and the wisdom to know that I knew my skin and the Jesus was different. That my grandmother's eyes, the religion that devout followers of knows, which we like a playground slide down a pole held out wide, knowing once we bounced off its, she would catch us in. Now that is God to me. For the day that I left home, I wanted her to take heads and perform the message just one more time. Weapons that she used to put has been hunted down, and but I didn't want to tell me that I was too grown for that. It was time to create my own magics, wearing colorful hair, but mine had to summon my elephant. Thank you.
That is the remarkable voice of Zomkhonto. Thank you so much for being with us today here on our first reading of the new year. We've got, as Kim shared with us, time for our final poet for today on this theme of home. Susan Young, welcome. Glad you could be with us today. Happy New Year.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, managed to, even though I was a bit late. I shall read something that I've written very early, and it would describe what my background and where home used to be. Child, mother, woman. We sit in our kitchen, painted orange, and call it cooking in a pumpkin. We laugh, bringing comfort to our cooking. I cut the vegetables and you saute the meat. I, child woman, listen to your motherly ways, and you singing and swinging your hips to John Lucian. Say, bring the salt, the soy sauce, and more bay leaves. Taste this. We wait for the soup to simmer and cut thin slices of frozen beef. Chopsticks in hand, we dip them into soy sauce and slowly chew the sinews. You talk of mango trees in Hawaii, and I of the peaches grown in Oregon's backyards. Thus we sit in New York's Lower East Side at the end of Little Italy in our pumpkin kitchen, our differences forgotten. Thank you.
Oh, honestly, that is a perfect poem to close our reading today. I always am glad that the way that the serendipity of it works. I'm thinking about Susan, that line in your poem about where home used to be. And so many of the poets today evoked not only where home is, but where home used to be. And where home used to be is still a place where home is. Where home is for so many of us. Well, we heard an incredible array of poems today. And before I read the names of everyone that read today, let's take a moment to unmute and show our genuine appreciation for the way that we brought home the reading today.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Way to write.
Wonderful.
Yeah, way to write. Really
Thank you for the
Great
poem.
poems.
great poems. Well, today we heard the poetry from, at the top of the hour, Giulio Magrini, Ken Burch, Harvey Soss, Marjorie Maddox, Lara, Rosie Barrett, Martina McGowan, Gordon Ferris, Cynthia Steele, Billy Brown, Lynda V.E. Crawford, Mona Lynch, Batt O Connor, Glenda Cimino, Zomkhonto, and we closed our reading with Susan Young. And again, I feel to me that every week that I get to gather here on Cultivating Voices live poetry, over these years that we've been, it's become another home for me to be in the company of such amazing, beautiful people, where we reside together in our individual places of residence. But when we come together, we create a kind of home through our languages and our stories, our words, our encouragements. And I'm so grateful to be able to share all these rooms of poetry with you that we've inhabited, not only today, but in these past seasons. So welcome home to 2023. Thank you for being here today for our first reading for Cultivating Voices live poetry, with a reminder that I hope you'll return home next week for our first new books showcase of 2023, where we will have this incredible quartet of poets. Jen, joining us will be Suzanne Edison, Susan Rich, Raul Sanchez, and Adam Wyeth. You'll be able to see the beautiful graphic, read the bios of these poets, make a decision about whether you'll be able to join us next week by looking at our event page and on our Facebook page for Cultivating Voices live poetry. That, of course, is all thanks to the steadfast devotion of Kim Ports Parsons. And also, you can always return home to any of these readings because of our recordings of them, and then they reside on our Cultivating Voices live poetry homepage, as well as on our YouTube channel. And that is thanks to the unbelievable dedication and commitment to this program from Don Krieger. Well, thanks to one and all of you for being here today. What an amazing audience of listeners and an amazing household of poets who shared their poetry. It is heartwarming, to say the least, and to be able to be in your company. And I'm always grateful when anyone comes to the program. And I look forward to this upcoming year. And I look forward to having a stronger voice the next time we're together. I often hang around a little bit after the program, but because of my voice today, I think I will not hang around today and preserve it so I'm a little better next time. And I want to encourage you all to have a great week and attend the readings that you can find out about, and enjoy this entry into this new year where poetry will be one of the things that I hope will uplift us and keep us, you know, moving through these times. I am grateful, and I always end the program with these words, and I will not stop that practice, which is to say to you, you know, during this time that we're not together, please take very good care of yourselves, take extremely good care of your beloveds, you know, be safe, and of course, keep writing your miraculous poems. This is Sandy Yannone for Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Thanks for making my home a little brighter today, a lot brighter today, with your amazing poetry. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Sandy. Love.